The Galactic Council had existed for over 10,000 years. It ruled thousands of star systems, guided millions of species, and believed it understood every possible mystery in the universe. But one small blue planet had always been different: Earth. Humans had joined the Council late, only 500 years ago, yet they changed everything faster than anyone could imagine. Where most species took centuries to adapt to new technologies, humans learned them in years. Where others debated peace, humans built it through unity, stubbornness, and sometimes sheer courage. At first, the older races laughed at them. Humans were loud, emotional, and unpredictable. They fought among themselves, questioned every rule, and often broke them just to test new paths. But somehow their chaos always brought progress. Within a century, human scientists led the Council's most advanced projects. Human traders opened new galaxies. Human soldiers defended the weak worlds that the Council ignored. And then, they were gone. It happened without warning. One day, all human colonies went dark. Every communication line from Earth and its outposts vanished. The stars around Sol system shimmered strangely, as if a silent wave had washed through space and swallowed all signals. For the first time in recorded history, an entire species disappeared overnight. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, panic rippled across the delegates. The towering walls of silver glass reflected the anxious faces of hundreds of alien ambassadors. The air shimmered with blue holographic screens showing broken communication lines, frozen data streams, and silent star maps. Council Speaker Rylos Tharn, a tall, crystalline being from the Virel species, struck his staff on the marble floor, sending a pulse of calm through the air. "Order," his voice echoed like chimes. "This council will come to order. The human network has gone dark across all sectors. We must understand what has happened." A small creature from the errant species trembled. Could it be a plague, a war? "No," replied Admiral Lothan, the reptilian commander of the Galactic Fleet. "Our patrols found no wreckage, no explosions. It's as if every ship and city simply vanished." At that, silence fell again. From the far side of the chamber, the human seat, once filled by Ambassador Mara Lee, remained empty. The glowing human flag flickered weakly, its light fading with each passing second. 3 hours later, deep in the observation station orbiting Jupiter, a young alien scientist named Talon Ver stared at his screens in disbelief. He had worked with humans for most of his career. They had taught him jokes, coffee, and the strange Earth custom of staying up all night to finish a project. Now he sat alone, scanning the last signal ever received from Earth. It was not a cry for help. It was not a warning. It was a single phrase spoken by a human voice, calm and clear. "We have seen enough. We are moving on." And then silence. The council gathered again, this time in emergency session. The hall buzzed with fear and confusion. "Moving on?" a delegate shouted. "To where? What does that mean?" "Humans always talked of exploration," said another. "But this is impossible. You cannot move on from the universe." Admiral Lothan slammed his claws on the table. "Our fleets found something else. Around Earth's orbit, a structure. Massive, shimmering, and unlike anything we have ever seen. It's made of unknown material, and it's still there." Images filled the air. The hologram showed a giant ring surrounding Earth like a luminous halo. It pulsed slowly, glowing with colors that no spectrum could define. "Is it a weapon?" someone asked. "Or a gate?" whispered Talon Ver, who had been invited to speak. "I think the humans built it." Laughter erupted around him. "Impossible," shouted the Dorlian ambassador. "No species could build something of that size in secret." But Talon's voice was calm. "These are humans. They did not need time. They only needed purpose." Days passed. Fleets surrounded the Sol system, scanning from a distance. No one dared enter. Strange energies surrounded Earth, twisting space itself. Then, on the 7th day, the ring came alive. From every direction, light burst out. Streams of golden energy that cut across the black of space. The galactic sensors screamed as readings went off the charts. The energy wave reached Jupiter's orbit, then stretched farther, touching the stars. And just like that, Earth vanished, no explosion, no debris. Just an empty orbit where a blue world once turned around its sun. The council fell into chaos. The sun remained, but Earth was gone. The moon floated alone. Every probe sent toward the missing planet simply disintegrated as soon as it crossed the invisible edge where Earth used to be. In the confusion that followed, the Galactic Council tried to hide the truth from the public. But word spread fast. Billions of beings across the galaxy whispered the same fear. Humanity has transcended. Some called them gods. Others called them ghosts. But the universe had changed forever. Weeks later, Talon Vur was summoned to the council once more. He carried a small device, one of the last human-built transmitters he had salvaged from a research station near Mars. I believe they left something behind, he said quietly. The council chamber dimmed as the device flickered to life. A blue projection appeared, fuzzy, damaged, but recognizable. It was Ambassador Mara Lee. Her recorded voice filled the air. To the Galactic Council, you were right to fear us and wrong to underestimate us. Humanity has reached the limit of this universe's laws. We have learned, fought, and loved among you. But our curiosity goes beyond your stars. We are not abandoning you. We are ascending to understand what lies beyond existence itself. Do not follow. The path is not ready for you yet, her voice softened. When we return, we hope to find that you have grown, not feared. The message ended. The chamber was silent. Rylos Tharn rose slowly. They left the universe? Talon nodded. So it seems, Admiral Lothan growled. And they took their technology, their ships, their knowledge. Do you realize what chaos this will cause? The trade systems, the defenses. But Rylos only stared into the glowing void on the hologram. No, Admiral. The chaos will come not from what they took, but from what they left behind. Indeed, across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Human-built AI networks, now leaderless, started acting strangely, as if they remembered something. On distant colonies once governed by humans, new forms of energy began to rise from the soil. Ships powered by human-designed reactors started to glow faintly even when turned off. It was as if the entire galaxy was waking up, and the Council could do nothing but watch as the legacy of humanity started to reshape the stars. Talon looked toward the dark screen showing Earth's last known location. His voice was almost a whisper. They always said humans never sit still, he said. I guess they finally proved it. Rylos turned to him. What do you think they'll find? Out there? Talon smiled faintly. Knowing humans? Probably trouble, but they'll face it together. The council chamber dimmed to silence as the stars outside continued to shift, slowly bending toward the empty place where Earth once shone, and deep in the darkness, something vast stirred as if answering the human call. Weeks turned into months after Earth vanished, but the universe refused to stay quiet. The Galactic Council tried to keep order, yet every species felt the absence of humanity. Trade slowed, research halted, and countless systems grew restless. Without humans' daring spirit, the galaxy suddenly felt colder. In the Great Hall, the shimmering banners of 100 species hung heavy. Speaker Rylos Tharn stood before the council, his crystal-like body dimmer than usual. The balance of the galaxy is shifting, he said slowly. Human influence reached farther than we ever realized. We must act before chaos consumes us. Admiral Lothan, commander of the Galactic Fleet, stood beside him. We have found something new near the Sol system, he announced. Something that shouldn't exist. The room buzzed with voices. What is it? Asked Talon Vur, the young scientist who had once worked with humans. Lothan projected a hologram into the air. The image showed a broken space, not empty but shimmering like cracked glass. Stars bent around it and faint whispers of light moved inside. It's what we're calling an echo rift, Lothan said. It appeared where Earth used to be. Talon leaned closer. Echo, like a voice returning after the sound is gone. Exactly, the Admiral said. We sent drones. None returned. The rift pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. The council debated for hours, but fear ruled the discussion. Some wanted to seal off the region forever. Others, especially the younger species, wanted to explore it. Curiosity, it seemed, was not a human trait alone. It had infected many. At last, the council agreed to send a single research vessel, the Horizon's Edge, to study the rift. The mission would be led by Talon Vur, the alien who understood humans better than most. Talon didn't hesitate. He had lived among humans for 30 years. They had taught him courage. They had taught him that the unknown was not to be feared but to be explored. Before leaving, Talon visited the empty human embassy one last time. Dust had settled on the floor. A faded human flag still hung above the desk, the colors pale under the light of alien suns. On the wall, someone had written in English, "Ad Astra." "To the stars," Talon whispered. "Always." The Horizon's Edge was a small ship compared to human cruisers, but it was fast and agile. Its crew was mixed, a few scientists, a pair of silent robotic engineers, and one old star pilot named Cor Ven, who had once flown beside human fleets. They were strange, Cor said, as he guided the ship out of dock, always laughing, even in danger. But you couldn't help trusting them. Talon smiled faintly. Maybe we'll understand why soon. The ship entered faster than light travel, and stars turned into streaks of silver. It took only 2 days to reach the edge of the Sol system. The sensors began to scream before they even stopped. The rift floated in the black void like a wound in space. It shimmered, folded, and whispered. The ship's lights reflected off invisible walls. Every scan returned nonsense readings. Energy levels beyond known physics, gravitational twists that shouldn't exist. Cor gripped the controls tightly. "It's like flying through broken glass," he muttered. Talon adjusted the scanners. "It's reacting to us," he said softly. "Almost like it's listening." The crew stared in awe. Then suddenly the communications console flickered to life. Static filled the air, and beneath it a faint human voice whispered through the noise. "Talon, if you can hear this, we're not gone. The bridge froze. Replay that," Cor shouted. Talon did, but the message didn't repeat. The static returned, empty and cold. "That was a human voice," Talon said, his hands trembling. "Someone's alive in there, but how?" One of the engineers asked. "They took Earth out of the universe. There's nothing left." Talon stared at the rift. "Maybe not nothing," he said quietly. "Maybe there's somewhere else and just close enough for an echo." The ship drifted closer. Energy waves rolled over the hull like invisible tides. The rift pulsed faster, as if recognizing them. Every instrument flickered wildly. "Pull back," Cor shouted. "We're losing control." But before he could react, a surge of light exploded from the rift. The ship was thrown backward, tumbling through space. For a moment, everything went dark. When Talon opened his eyes, alarms were blaring. Sparks flickered. The stars outside had changed. Unfamiliar constellations twisted across the void. "We've been pulled through," whispered Cor. "We're not in our universe anymore." Outside, the rift glowed faintly behind them, like a doorway made of light. But this side of it was different. The stars pulsed gently as if alive. Strange structures floated among them, vast geometric shapes that shone with soft white light. They weren't planets, nor ships, nor anything natural. "Scan those structures," Talon ordered. The computer replied in a broken voice. "Unknown material, energy signature, and similar to human reactors." Talon felt his heart race. "They're here," he breathed. "Humans built these." The ship glided closer. One of the structures began to open, revealing a tunnel of blue light. As they approached, it was as if the ship itself was being pulled forward, gently but firmly. "We can't fight it," Cor said. "It's pulling us in," Talon nodded. "Then let's see where they went." Inside, everything was silent and bright. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber filled with floating platforms and rivers of light. Machines drifted like clouds, forming and unforming with each second. It was a place of living technology, elegant, peaceful, and beyond imagination. "This isn't just human," whispered one of the crew. "This is something more." Talon felt it too. The structure wasn't made of metal or stone. It was made of thought, of energy shaped by will. He could almost feel the humans around him, even if they weren't there. Then a voice filled the air, warm and familiar. "Talon Vur," it said. "You shouldn't have come." A figure appeared, human, but not quite. It looked like light shaped into a person. Its eyes glowed with gentle fire. Talon stepped forward, awed. "Mara Lee?" The figure smiled faintly. "What's left of me," she said. "We have become something new." Mara explained that humanity had crossed beyond the physical universe. They had found a way to exist as energy and thought, exploring realities beyond space and time. The rift was their bridge, the only echo left between their realm and the old universe. "We did not mean to cause fear," Mara said softly. "But our journey required us to leave everything behind." Talon's voice trembled. "The Council is falling apart without you." "The galaxy needs your guidance," Mara shook her head. They don't need us, Talon, they only think they do. Humans were never special because of our power. We were special because we believed we could change anything. That belief now belongs to all species. Talon lowered his eyes.
Then why call to me?
Because you listened, she said with a faint smile. You understood what it meant to dream. The light around her began to fade. You must go back, she said. The rift is closing. But remember, Talon, the universe is growing. Not just the one you know. Every act of curiosity creates another path. You must lead them. Talon reached out, but his hand passed through her form. Will I ever see you again? Mara's voice was a whisper now. When your people are ready. And then she was gone. The horizon's edge shook violently. The rift was collapsing. Kor shouted over the alarms. We're being thrown out! Talon barely managed to reach the controls before a flash of light consumed everything. When the ship finally reappeared in their own universe, the rift was gone. In its place floated a single glowing object and a crystal, small and perfectly clear. Talon picked it up gently. Inside it shimmered a faint image, Earth glowing brighter than any sun. He smiled. They left us a memory. When Talon returned to the council, he placed the crystal on the table before Speaker Rylos. They're alive, he said simply. But not like before. They've moved beyond. The chamber was silent. No one spoke. The crystal pulsed softly, casting blue light across every alien face. What do we do now? Rylos finally asked. Talon looked up at the stars displayed on the ceiling. What they taught us to do, he said. We keep going. The galaxy was no longer the same. Months had passed since Talonver returned from the rift, carrying the glowing crystal left behind by humanity. It now sat at the heart of the Galactic Council chamber, floating above a pedestal of pure light. Every being who saw it felt something stir inside, curiosity, hope, and a strange, quiet strength. Speaker Rylos Tharn often stood before it in silence. He would watch the light shift and swirl as if the crystal breathed. Even gone, he once said, they still find a way to lead us. But not everyone agreed. The absence of humans had created a power vacuum. Without human trade routes, old rivalries between species returned. Some worlds grew richer. Others fell into despair. The galaxy was restless, and many were desperate to reclaim the unity that humanity once brought. In one of the outer sectors, far from the shining worlds of the Council, a secret research base worked day and night. Its name was Station Helix. The beings who worked there called themselves the Imitators. Their leader, Dr. Varn Isar, was a tall, thin alien from the Kellen species, known for their intelligence and ambition. He had once studied under human scientists before Earth vanished. He never forgot their brilliance, or the feeling of always being one step behind them. They said humans evolved faster because of imagination. Varn told his team, if imagination made them strong, then we shall build it. At the center of Station Helix stood a massive machine, the Mind Forge. It was built from fragments of human technology recovered from old battlefields and research ships. Its purpose was simple yet daring, to recreate the human pattern, the strange energy signature that Talon had found inside the rift. Varn believed that if he could mimic the human mind, he could bring them back, or at least create something like them. Meanwhile, on the central world of the Council, Talon Ver lived quietly. He had been offered high positions and great honors, but he refused them all. He spent most of his time studying the crystal. Sometimes it glowed brighter when he touched it. Other times, faint images appeared inside. Not clear pictures, but shapes and colors that felt almost alive. One night, as he sat alone in the research hall, he saw something new. The crystal pulsed 3 times and a voice, faint but real, echoed inside his mind. Do not let them copy us, Talon froze. The voice was human, calm, distant, and sad. He whispered, Who are you? But the light faded, and the voice was gone. The next morning, Talon rushed to Speaker Rylos. The crystal spoke, he said. Someone or something is warning us. Rylos tilted his crystal head. A warning from beyond the universe? I don't know, Talon admitted. But I believe someone is trying to imitate humanity. The voice said not to let it happen. Rylos's light dimmed slightly, the Varel equivalent of a frown. There are rumors, he said. A base in the Kellen sector. They claim to be studying human energy. Perhaps we should see it for ourselves, Talon nodded. If they are truly trying to copy humans, they could be risking more than they know. 2 weeks later, the Council sent a small expedition fleet to the Kellen sector. Talon joined them along with Rylos and a squad of peacekeepers. The journey was quiet, but tension filled the air. As the ships neared Station Helix, strange readings appeared on their sensors, wild bursts of energy and unstable fields. When they arrived, the base was glowing. Beams of light reached into space like lightning trapped in slow motion. Rylos stared in disbelief. They've already started the experiment. Talon's heart sank. Then we might be too late. Inside Station Helix, chaos ruled. Alarms screamed. The Mind Forge pulsed wildly, its core glowing brighter than a star. Scientists ran from control panels shouting warnings. Dr. Varn stood in the center, his eyes fixed on the rising sphere of light above the forge. "It's working," he cried. "They're returning." His assistant pulled at his arm. "No, Varn. The readings are unstable. We're tearing open space." But Varn only smiled. "Let it open. Let them come back to us." And then the Mind Forge exploded. From orbit, Talon's ship was hit by a shockwave of pure energy. The view screen filled with blinding white light. When it cleared, Station Helix was gone. In its place hung a massive sphere, shimmering, spinning, and whispering in thousands of human voices. Rylos whispered, "What have they done?" Talon felt cold. They tried to become human. But I think something else came through. The sphere pulsed. For a moment it seemed to take shape, like a face forming out of clouds. 1,000 voices spoke together. "You called us, but we are not yours." And then silence. The ship's systems flickered. Power drained as if something was feeding on it. The sphere began to expand, swallowing debris and light. Talon slammed his communicator. "We need to retreat now." As the fleet turned away, another transmission burst through the static. A human voice, faint but clear. "Talon, this is not us. You must stop it." It was Mara Lee again. Her voice was filled with urgency. Rylos looked at Talon. "She's alive?" "Not alive," Talon said softly. "But watching." The fleet fled back to the Council, leaving the growing sphere behind. But the damage had been done. Across nearby systems, technology began to fail. Machines built with human design started to behave strangely. Lights flickered, reactors hummed without power. Some ships even moved on their own, following unknown commands. At the next Council meeting, fear gripped every voice. "The imitation has corrupted our systems," one delegate shouted. "This is what happens when we chase the humans' power." "We must destroy the Kellen sector," another argued. "Seal it before it spreads." Talon stood quietly, holding the crystal in his hands. "No," he said finally. "Destruction will not stop it. It was born from misunderstanding, not malice." Rylos nodded. "Then what do we do?" "We learn," Talon said. "We do what the humans would do. Face the unknown, not run from it." That night, Talon sat alone once more, staring at the crystal. He whispered, "If you can hear me, tell me how to stop it." The crystal glowed softly and a vision filled his mind. He saw the Mind Forge still spinning in the dark, consuming itself. He saw shapes, human but not real, forming and dissolving in waves of light. And then, a single image, a bright symbol in a spiral, shining like the Milky Way itself. When the vision faded, Talon knew what it meant. The humans had left a pattern, a safeguard. The spiral symbol represented the Harmony Code, an ancient algorithm the humans used to balance energy fields. It could neutralize chaos without destroying matter. They had left behind the key all along. The next day, Talon met Rylos in the command chamber. "I know how to stop it," he said. "But we'll need to enter the sphere." Rylos tilted his head. "You want to enter that storm?" Talon smiled faintly. "It's what the humans would do." Rylos paused, then nodded. "Then we go together." The new expedition left at dawn. As their ship approached the Kellen sector, the sphere had grown enormous, the size of a moon. Energy crackled across its surface like living lightning. Talon held the crystal in one hand and began to activate the Harmony Code on his console. The crystal's light flowed into the system, spreading through the ship like a heartbeat. "Ready?" Rylos asked. Talon nodded. "Let's bring peace to their echo." The ship plunged into the sphere. Inside was light and sound, endless whispers, faces, and memories. It felt like stepping into a dream. The false humans, the imitations, reached toward them, made of light and sadness. They didn't attack. They seemed confused, lost, afraid. Talon activated the harmony code. Waves of soft energy rippled outward, calming the chaos. The figures began to fade, their whispers growing peaceful. "We only wanted to be like them," they murmured. "Now we understand." Being human was never about power. The sphere began to collapse gently, its light turning golden. Rylos looked at Talon. "You did it." Talon shook his head. "No, they did. Humanity taught us how to face the unknown, with courage, not imitation." When they returned, the galaxy was quiet again. The crisis had ended, but something new had begun. Species across the stars started to learn from humans in a different way, not by copying their machines, but by following their spirit. They called this new era the Age of Imitation, not because they mimicked humans, but because they finally understood what humans truly meant by discovery, unity, and hope. And in the council chamber, the crystal glowed brighter than ever, as if humanity was smiling from beyond. The galaxy had changed forever. Months had passed since the light-bearer returned from the edge of known space with the human crystal and the message of the network beyond. Species across the stars were beginning to understand the true legacy of humanity, not in their technology, but in their spirit. Curiosity, courage, and unity were the gifts humans had left behind. The Galactic Council had declared a new era, the New Dawn. It was not just a name, but a promise to live up to the standard humans had set, to reach farther, and to explore with hope rather than fear. Talon Vur now stood in the center of the council chamber, the crystal floating above him. Every species had representatives here, gathered not in conflict but in cooperation. The glowing strands of energy projected from the crystal reflected across every alien face, shimmering like tiny stars. "It is a remarkable sight," whispered Admiral Lothan, his claws resting gently on the railing. "To think, all of this comes from humans who aren't even here." Talon smiled faintly. "They may not be here physically, but they left a part of themselves. Their spirit is still guiding us." Rylos Tharn, the council speaker, stepped forward. "We have learned a lesson that no other species has learned in thousands of years. Humanity showed us that power is nothing without purpose. Knowledge is nothing without courage. Unity is nothing without heart." A hush fell across the chamber. Even the smallest species, barely known beyond their homeworlds, felt the weight of the moment. Meanwhile, beyond known space, the humans, transformed into beings of thought and energy, watched quietly. They had seen everything: the rise and fall of the Kellan imitators, the safe return of the Lightbearer, and the awakening of the Council. Mara Lee's voice reached Talon's mind one last time, soft but clear. "You have done well, Talon. Humanity did not need to return in form. Our presence is not in bodies but in ideas. Guard them well." Talon closed his eyes and felt the warmth of her words flow through him. He understood now. The humans had never sought to dominate. They had sought to inspire. Across the galaxy, the effects of the human network became apparent. On distant colonies, agricultural systems previously failing now thrived, as if the humans' energy subtly guided the growth. Research labs unlocked knowledge that had been impossible before, discovering energy patterns, star maps, and quantum laws that humans had long mastered. Fleets designed to patrol borders now acted in harmony, sharing resources and knowledge rather than competing. It was not magic. It was guidance embedded in reality itself, a teaching from those who had moved beyond. At the council, Talon proposed a new initiative. "We should create a network across the galaxy," he said. "A system where every species can share knowledge, resources, and discoveries, not for power but for growth. Humanity has shown us how it should work." Rylos Tharn's crystalline form shimmered. "It is ambitious but necessary. We will call it the Stellar Accord." Every species in the chamber nodded. The Stellar Accord would be the first organization born not from conquest or politics, but from curiosity, unity, and courage, the true values of humans. The first projects began immediately. Scientists and engineers from different species collaborated on star drives, medical technologies, and exploration ships. Trade routes were restored, but this time with purpose, to connect civilizations rather than exploit them. On one planet, a small human memorial was created. Not a statue, but a garden, a living tribute to Earth. Trees, rivers, and mountains were reconstructed, and holographic images of human life played among them. Children of multiple species visited the garden, learning of courage, innovation, and hope. The humans may have left the physical universe, but their memory now shaped the next generation. Talon Vur often returned to the crystal in the council chamber. He could sense subtle changes in it, small pulses of energy that seemed like communication. One day, as he touched it, a vision filled his mind. He saw humans exploring strange new dimensions, twisting, shining, learning beyond the limits of reality. They were not just surviving, they were thriving. And yet even in those vast, infinite spaces they looked toward the galaxy, watching, guiding, and smiling. "They are truly beyond us now," Talon whispered, "and yet they left us everything we need." Despite the progress, challenges remained. Some species struggled to adapt to the new way of cooperation. Old rivalries flared. Some sectors attempted to misuse technology recovered from the rift. But each time, Talon and the Council reminded the galaxy, humans never solved problems by force. They solved them by understanding, by courage, by unity. Follow that path. Over time, the message took root. Conflicts diminished. Knowledge spread. The Stellar Accord became more than an organization. It became a living example of human philosophy, a galaxy-wide culture of hope and exploration. Years passed. The galaxy flourished. Entire star systems communicated freely, sharing discoveries and innovations. Worlds once isolated now thrived in collaboration. Talon Vur, older and wiser, watched young beings of every species explore stars humans had never touched. Ships of diverse design and origin ventured farther than any fleet had before, following routes inspired by the humans' energy network. The crystal pulsed steadily in the council chamber, its light no longer mysterious but familiar, like a guiding heartbeat, and sometimes, just sometimes, Talon thought he could hear a faint whisper. "Keep going. Always explore. Always believe." The final challenge came unexpectedly. A star system, isolated for millennia, began showing signs of instability. A massive black hole threatened to consume it, and communication from the inhabitants was frantic. The council debated. Many argued it was too late. Others feared losing ships and lives. Talon remembered humanity. Courage, not fear. Action, not doubt. He turned to the council and said firmly, "We will go. Together, we will help them." That is what humans would do. Fleets from multiple species launched. Scientists, engineers, and explorers worked in harmony, stabilizing the system using methods inspired by the human network. After weeks of effort, the black hole's energy was redirected safely, and the inhabitants were saved. The galaxy cheered. It was the first great achievement of the Stellar Accord, proof that the human spirit still guided them, even from beyond the universe. As Talon returned to the council chamber, he looked at the crystal and smiled. "They didn't just leave us guidance," he said. "They left us responsibility. To be brave, to explore, to grow, and to care for every world we touch." Rylos Tharn placed a crystalline hand on his shoulder. "You have done well, Talon. You have become their voice." Talon nodded, but he felt it wasn't his voice at all. It was the voice of humanity, echoing across space and time. At night, across billions of light years, the humans continued their journey. They existed as beings of thought and energy, exploring dimensions the galaxy could not even imagine. Yet they remained connected, watching their home, watching the galaxy they had shaped, smiling at every act of courage, every step toward unity, every discovery made by those who carried their spirit. The universe was no longer alone. Humanity had transcended, but they had also ensured that their essence lived in every corner of known space. And so, the galaxy entered its new dawn, a time of courage, curiosity, and hope. Every species understood something fundamental. Humans were gone, yet never truly absent. They were in the spirit of every explorer, the heart of every discovery, and the pulse of every star, and that was the greatest gift any species could leave behind. The year was 2478, and humanity had changed more in the last 4 centuries than in all of history before it. Once humans had looked up at the stars and dreamed. Now they lived among them. Colonies stretched from the red deserts of Mars to the icy moons of Jupiter, and the mighty interstellar union of Earth stood as the symbol of human unity. But not everyone in the galaxy liked this progress. Beyond the borders of human space, there was the Galactic Empire, a massive alliance of ancient alien races. For thousands of years they had ruled the Milky Way, believing themselves the true masters of civilization. When humans appeared and began expanding, the Empire at first ignored them. After all, to them, humanity was new, small, and insignificant. That was their first mistake. For the Empire, humans were only supposed to be another primitive species that would fade quietly. But humans didn't fade. They thrived, built ships faster than light, and colonized planets that the Empire had ignored for centuries. They traded with neutral worlds, built alliances, and slowly began to change the balance of power in the galaxy. The Galactic Emperor, Valtor IX, was furious. From his throne in the Golden Palace of GalacticPrime, he stared at the holographic map showing the ever-growing human colonies. His advisors stood silently, not daring to speak. "How," he hissed, "can a species that was still using fossil fuel a few centuries ago now rival our fleets?" None dared to answer. One of them, a tall insectoid scholar, finally said in a soft voice, "Sire, the humans are unpredictable. They learn fast. They do not fear failure." "Then we shall teach them fear," Valtor growled. Within days, the Galactic Empire sent a message to Earth's Council, a declaration of superiority. It wasn't quite a war declaration, but it was close enough. The Empire demanded that humanity submit, pay tribute, and hand over several colonies. It was written in elegant alien script and filled with words like honor, obedience, and punishment for arrogance. When the message reached Earth, it was the middle of the day in New Geneva, the capital of the Interstellar Union. The council gathered in the grand glass chamber overlooking the city. Holographic banners of every colony flickered in the air. At the center stood Admiral Sarah Leon, commander of the Union fleet. She was calm, focused, and famous for her ability to turn impossible situations into victory. Beside her stood Dr. Elias Munro, a scientist and historian who studied alien cultures. The alien message hovered before them, glowing faintly blue. When the translation finished, silence filled the room. "They want us to kneel?" one of the council members whispered in disbelief. Admiral Leon crossed her arms. "They've mistaken us for their past victims," Dr. Munro chuckled. "Typical imperial arrogance. They've ruled for so long they think history stopped with them." "So," another asked, "how do we respond?" Admiral Leon smiled faintly. "Politely, and with humor." The response she drafted became famous across the galaxy. It began simply, "To His Imperial Majesty Valtor IX, ruler of the known galaxy. We appreciate your concern for humanity's place in the stars. However, we are quite comfortable standing upright. Kneeling is outdated. Sincerely, the people of Earth." When the Empire received that message, laughter erupted in the human colonies. Memes, jokes, and hollow videos spread like wildfire. Even children repeated the phrase, "Kneeling is outdated." It became a symbol of pride and unity. But in the grand halls of GalacticPrime, the Emperor's rage shook the pillars. "Outdated?" he roared. "They dare mock the throne?" His generals trembled. One of them, a cold reptilian named General Kor, stepped forward. "Sire, allow me to handle this insult. I will lead the First Imperial Fleet. We will crush their colonies and make an example of their weakness." "Go," Valtor said. "Bring me their leaders in chains." Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, humanity prepared for what they knew was coming. The Union fleet gathered near the edge of human space at the system known as Helios Reach, a frontier stronghold where humans had built massive orbital defenses. It was a test of everything they had learned from centuries of survival. Admiral Leon stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UHS Dauntless, watching hundreds of ships assemble in formation. Each ship was small compared to the Empire's titanic dreadnoughts. But humans had something different: adaptability. Unlike the ancient and rigid designs of the Empire, human ships were modular, fast, and unpredictable. Each could operate independently, with AIs and captains improvising as needed. To the Empire, that kind of flexibility was chaos. To humanity, it was creativity. Dr. Munro joined her on the bridge, a datapad in hand. "The Empire has declared that they will arrive within 5 cycles. 5 cycles, Leon murmured. "Then let's make sure the welcome party is ready." He grinned. Do you really think we can beat them? She turned to him, calm and confident. Dr. Monroe, we've been underestimated since the beginning of time. It's our favorite advantage. 5 cycles later, the stars above Helios Reach shimmered. The first Imperial fleet arrived in formation, colossal ships shining with gold and silver, banners of the Empire glowing across their hulls. There were thousands of them, each larger than a human city. The alien commander, General Kor, sent out a final transmission. His voice echoed across the system, deep and proud. People of Earth, you stand before the might of the Galactic Empire. Surrender now and your worlds will be spared. Resist and your history ends here. The Union Council on Earth broadcast the reply live across all human colonies. Admiral Lian appeared on every screen, calm and composed. General Kor, we appreciate your concern, but humanity has a different policy. We don't surrender. We adapt, we survive, and we fight when we must. The communication ended. Across human colonies, cheers erupted. Humanity wasn't just fighting for territory. They were fighting for respect, for their right to exist as equals among the stars. General Kor laughed cruelly. Then you will learn humility the hard way. His fleet began to move, massive dreadnoughts aligning weapons. But as soon as they entered the system, strange readings appeared. Human ships darted in and out of radar, vanishing like ghosts. Where are they? Kor demanded. His sensors showed nothing but silence. Then suddenly alarms blared. Small explosions rippled through his front lines. The humans weren't engaging directly, they were hacking. The Empire's ships, proud and ancient, ran on centralized systems. Human cyber warriors slipped into their networks like shadows, confusing targeting arrays and disabling shields. From the Dauntless, Admiral Lian watched with satisfaction as the massive enemy fleet began to stumble in confusion. First lesson, she murmured. Never assume bigger means smarter. Her fleet emerged from behind the asteroid belt. Hundreds of fast, agile ships launching coordinated strikes. Missiles streaked through space, finding weak points the humans had learned from captured Imperial blueprints. General Kor's fleet tried to respond, but the humans didn't stay still long enough to be hit. They moved like water, unpredictable, relentless. Within the first hour, several Imperial cruisers were disabled, drifting helplessly. The rest began to retreat in disarray. Admiral Lian's orders were simple. Let them go. Send them home with a story. When the broken Imperial ships limped back to Xandrix Prime, the galaxy was already watching. News spread faster than light. The humans had fought the Empire, and laughed while doing it. The Emperor's fury turned to disbelief. Impossible, he whispered. They were supposed to be simple creatures, but deep down, even he began to understand. This was not a species that could be ruled by fear. Humanity had made its point. And as Admiral Lian stood at the viewport of her ship, watching the stars glitter, she smiled softly and said, "This was just the first round.